Well, you see, despite all your planning, despite all your genius ideas on how to get me here, you forgot one very critical thing. And what would that be? You forgot to tie my legs up, you fucking idiot! Vanillite! Headbutt! Hey, what's this door lead to? Okay, better than here.
And so it came to pass that I, Matthew Phantom Hive, did indeed circumnavigate that prison and managed to find my escape, only to be lost in the perfect definition of paradise.
Oh, fuck. Hate the woods. Everything wants to kill you, or bite you, or poke you, or give you malaria, or give you some other strain of the flu, or turn you into a zombie, or have a witch show up out of nowhere, or have some crazy deranged hillbilly lock your head off with a chainsaw, or eating poisonous berries, or stubbing your toe, or a bunch of other shit that's just a pain in my ass. Should have stayed in the fucking prison. Holy crap. Civilization, yes! Burgers, meat, manufactured products. We are home free, baby. Oh God, no. It's not even fucking winter yet. Frickin' vanillite, screw this. I'm going home and getting me a nice hot cup of cocoa. What the hell is up with the sun? I swear, being locked in that horrible abyss of abject terror, then to escape only to be lost in the woods for days on end is quite easily the 19th worst thing to happen to me since I started doing this show. So yeah, despite the fact I'm going to be probably scarred for life and require several psychiatric therapies to be bumped up to the level of insane lunatic, let's talk about Soul Eater, because, yeah, why not? Soul Eater, written and drawn by the genius of Atsushi Ōkubo, is a very... Ōkubo. You're on a fine line there, Atsushi-sensei. You're on a fine line. Anyway, Soul Eater has become something of a running gag on my channel for the past year. You see, last October, when I was also doing a series of Halloween reviews, although those ones weren't as regular as this series is, I was going to finish off the month by reviewing Soul Eater. I have a nice little thumbnail here and everything. Even made this cool little site back here for the review, and I just kind of got away from it. And ever since then, every now and then, I would always get some letters on my fan page or messages over my PMs or comments on YouTube just saying that, hey, when are you going to review Soul Eater, Tekking? Well, it may not be the ultimate extravagant review I expected to begin with, but here you go. Soul Eater is probably one of my all-time favorite series. I discovered it when I was about a senior in high school. I watched it all the way through, and I read the manga shortly after. Very few anime do you see me doing that. Like, for Black Butler, for instance, I watched the anime first, and then I kind of got into the manga, but it was anything I could really marathon. Soul Eater I could not literally put down as soon as I started reading the manga. It was that good. And as you could probably assume, the anime adaptation is not quite as good as the manga adaptation. Big surprise there. But to be fair, that's a pretty big standard to hold up to, and for the most part, it did a pretty good job. Really, it wasn't really up until the very end of the anime series, which, by the way, this is another one where it had the anime series end before the manga did, but it lasted way longer. Like, look at Black Butler, for instance. That only lasted about maybe, I think, 12 or some such episodes in the first season, then it had its second season, which was completely filler, but the manga was still going. Gantz, which we're going to get to later down the line, that had about maybe 20-something episodes, but the manga hadn't even ended yet. Soul Eater, on the other hand, lasted 51 episodes. 51! Even though the manga still had a long way to go before it ended, the fact it lasted so long to begin with kind of makes me think like the creators were back and forth on if they wanted to keep this a standard series like Bleach or something, or if they just wanted to end it. And really, I know this is probably a freaking snowball's chance in hell, but I'm really hoping that now that the manga has finished, they do like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood type deal, because there are some parts that happen later on in the manga of Soul Eater that we need to see animated. Absolutely. Well, anyway, I should probably get into the plot, right? Because I've been ranting here for like a good couple of minutes without even talking about it. Alright, well, Soul Eater for the most part takes place in kind of a parallel universe to ours, in that it takes place in the same basic structure of the world. All the different continents are here, as well as the cities, except Las Vegas is now Death Vegas, Nevada, or Death City. Yeah, kind of a little bit more steps up from awesome there. Basically, how the deal works is that pretty much deities and gods and spirits and ghosts all kind of just exist in the world, and it's one of those series where we just kind of have to accept it as normal. Not the least of which being Death himself. That's right, the Grim Reaper, the personification of death in our realm, is the standard character in this series that's well known to everyone as a celebrity and is the principal of a high school type setting. So yeah, and oh, don't let this foolish appearance mislead you. He is still the fucking Grim Reaper, and he could end you 10 times before you hit the ground. So yeah, bottom line, do your fucking homework. The students at this school, referred to as the DWMA, are usually predisposed to two different categories, either a Meister or a weapon. Meisters are specialists in wielding the weapons, which the other students are. These students can transform into the weapon at will, although this takes a little bit of practice to do. Why exactly can they transform into weapons? Well, it hasn't been expressly stated, but it's kind of hinted out to be some sort of genetic thing in this universe. Whereas, you know, if your parents are weapons, you can just transform into a weapon at will, although the weapon itself is kind of sentient and the body parts can manifest. You can do partial manifestations, so it's very interesting on how you do this. Just to look at it another way, you know how some people are born double jointed? Yeah, just think of it like that, except instead of a circus act, you get a guy that can transform into a giant hammer. Yeah, it's also a little bit more steps up from awesome there. The premise of the school, and kind of the plot of the entire series, is that the Meisters and the weapons team up to fight against Kishin eggs, or Kishin souls. Basically, a Kishin, or a devil, is the most apotheosis of evil, or basically Satan, in this series. However, he was sealed away a long time ago, so there's no need to worry, right? Yes, there is, because there's other evil spirits that aren't quite as badass as the Kishin, although they're well on the way to get there. They have the soul called the Kishin eggs. So the whole point of the DWMA is to go out and kill these evil souls that have a Kishin egg to make sure they never become a reborn Kishin. So, now I really debated for a long time whether to go into the actual villain of this series, because we don't find out about him until a decent chunk of chapters into the series. It's a monthly release series, or at least it was, so that means you have a good 30 or 40 pages per chapter, but I really don't want to go into any more detail because there's so much in this series you learn up to the point of when you find out who the main villain is that it really would be spoilers if I just mention him now. So I'm just going to shut my mouth and talk about the awesome characters. The characters, in my opinion, really are the key to this series. And that might be a little bit weird, because you might be thinking, well, no, duh, Tekking, the characters are the key to every series, you know? No, you don't understand. Like, in most series, and shonen anyway, I can pretty much just say who my favorite character is. For example, in Bleach, if you want to look at the main cast of Bleach, let's just say Ichigo, Rukia, Renji, Byakuya, let's throw Uehara in there, maybe Aizen. If you're going to look at the main cast of Bleach, I could easily look in that crowd and just pick out my favorite character in that crowd, which would probably be Rukia. Alright, you know, I'm not going to really deviate between Rukia, Ichigo, Aizen, well, definitely not fucking Aizen, Uehara that much. It's pretty much going to stay steadily Rukia when you just look at that group of, like, the main cast. Soul Eater, on the other hand, completely different story. Now, my overall favorite character in this series is Death the Kid, because he is awesome. He's the son of Death himself, and he's able to use certain powers that Death can use, although he has to unlock them by using these lines on his hair called the Lines of Sanzu. How does he unlock them? Well, that's kind of going into spoiler territory, so I'm just going to shut up about that, too. Now, Death the Kid is a pretty serious character, all things considered, but he does have a little bit of an air of immediacy about him, especially revolving around his OCD with symmetry. That's kind of his deal. With since Death and Death the Kid are both gods of order, Death the Kid requires everything to be perfectly symmetrical, even to the point when if he's in the middle of a fight and chasing down an enemy, if he noticed something perfectly symmetrical, like, oh my god, that cloud is perfectly in symmetry line with that cloud. No, seriously, that happens, and the guy just leaves, so, yeah. It's like my default favorite character for the entire series, but there's other ones too, specifically the main three. We have Death the Kid, we also have Maka, who is kind of the main character of the entire series, I want to say, or the one that's kind of like the Ichigo of the group, the one we all focus on. She is, for a female protagonist, I gotta give it to her. The way her character is done, composed like compared to other shonen female characters, is completely different. I don't think she's ever been played for fan service, even just a little bit. I think it's mostly just the fact that she's a very strong-willed young woman, and she does have an air of, you know, compassion and cutesiness about her, but for the most part, she's just all badass with a little bit of a softer side to her friends. So I like that, though. I really do. That there's no over, like, even characters like, even if you want to look at, like, I'm trying to think of other shonen anime that have a female main character. I'm kind of coming up blank here. But even if you want to look at characters like Rukia, or, that are still main characters, not maybe the main one in the entire series, but like, main protagonists, even they're still going to have, at least a little bit of fan service throughout the entire series. But Maka, I can't recall having practically any. So, really, they keep their mind on what's needed and not, like, this over-the-top stuff here. Now, we have a magical black cat / witch for our fan service in this series named Blair, and yeah, get it, Blair Witch Project, so freaking clever. My god, she's fucking hot. Maka's weapon partner is the titular Soul Eater Evans. Yes, his name is actually Soul Eater, and he's able to transform into the scythe back here. That's kind of like the iconic symbol of the entire series. Then we have the Meister Blackstar and his weapon partner Tsubaki, which is able to transform into a shit ton of things, whereas Blackstar himself is... Okay, in the anime, I mean, I got a really bad impression of Blackstar at the beginning, because in the anime, he came off as annoying as hell. But in the manga, on the other hand, badass as hell. So, just remember that, especially if you're watching the English dub, because I don't know why the hell they decided to make his voice sound that freaking annoying in the English dub. But, yeah, manga, Blackstar, better than anime Blackstar. I forgot to mention Def the Kid's weapon partners are Dual Pistols, Liz and Patty Thompson. So, out of all those three characters, Def the Kid is my default favorite, but at multiple times throughout the series, whenever Blackstar or Maka will do something really crazy or really badass, it'll switch over. And for a long time, Maka was my favorite character for a long time, Blackstar was my favorite character, even Frankenstein. Frankenstein is one of the other teachers at the school, the DWMA, and see, there's so many characters in this series, I really can't go into all of them, but I'll leave it at Frankenstein just because he's one of the few characters in the series that can actually fight and actually deal a lot of damage without a weapon partner. Although he does sort of have like a bipolar thing going on. One second he'll be all calm and collected like Ginkgo from Mushishi, and the next thing he'll be like that nerdy kid from Dead Man Wonderland. Yeah, kind of a jarring difference there. But yeah, there's so many other characters in this series that I could just stand here, I could sit here for like the rest of this video for like 15-20 minutes and just talk about that. But I really got to stop myself here and just leave it at the simple, go and watch it if you haven't. The manga just finished like a month or two ago, so it's a perfect time to read it or watch it. Of course, the anime does have a filler ending, but really the ending is, up until that point, it really follows the manga sort of close. So up until the end, that's when kind of starts deviating. But for the most part, it holds pretty true. On the Gorometer, I gotta rank it a 2, I'd say. I'd rank it a Hannibal Lecter. Not a huge amount of blood in this series, although there is blood, but it's mostly black. It's kind of going along with Dead Man Wonderland, where there is blood, but it's a different variety of blood. It's not the simple, like, you get cut and you start pouring out the wound. It's something kind of different, although it does play a major part in the series, so, pay attention to the whole black blood thing. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah, you guys go and see that, and I'm gonna go and see if Smart Tekking finished his mind erasing machine yet. Because, yeah, I need a little bit of brain shampoo, you know what I'm saying? Oh, and I forgot to mention, this series also brought to life probably the coolest protagonist in the entire freaking anime world. I give to you, ladies and gentlemen, the ultimate weapon in Soul Eater and the inspiration for the Pokemon Snivy, Excalibur! God, he's so beautiful! I need to go wipe my mind from his awesomeness so I don't pass out again. Oh, too late.